Hi, I'm Skilla and this is Nerd Stuff with Skilla. I just watched the third episode of Inhumans, the new Marvel Network TV show, and it was a lot better than the first one, so that's good. There will be spoilers in this. If you care about spoilers, please go watch the latest episodes of Inhumans and then come back and watch it later. I'm still not jazzed about how Black Bolt is being portrayed, but it's structurally better than what we got in the first 2 hours. I'm sure once he has people on his side who are kind of traveling with him, that he will probably have a little bit more of that kingly essence that I associate with him. Gorgon got in a big fight with Oron, in which a bunch of other Inhumans from Adelon were sent down to try and take him out. One of those is a dude named Mortis, who has Cyclops-like blast that he does. He's wearing this big thick mask, so maybe he has like the ruby quartz in there to protect him, just like Cyclops does. And it's not really made clear whether they're concussive blasts like Cyclops or if there's more like heat behind them. But I'm sure we're going to see more from that character, since it seems like him and Oron have a past, and because last we saw Gorgon, he was like running away from them. So I'm sure that we'll see him again. The problem right now is that a lot of the characters' motivations aren't super clear, and it's still not like I'm invested in some of the characters that I should be invested in. So as far as motivations are concerned, like the group of former army dudes who helps Gorgon, like their reasoning for helping him is, to me, hey, we had a campfire together and also Hawaii was a kingdom before, so I guess we're gonna fight with you now. And that motivation to me seemed really weak. Like maybe it would be better if we had gotten an extra 5 minutes of them communicating with each other. Maybe I could have bought it a little bit easier, but these guys put their lives on the line because they met up with this dude and he's loyal to a king, and I thought that was a little weak. That said, the fight scene was pretty good. It seemed like the actors really executed the choreography well, but the editing was really choppy. Like it made it more difficult to follow the action because of the editing than it had to be, and I thought that was kind of messed up. Like, you should show your actors performing action if you're going to have action sequences in your TV show. Medusa is like finding a way to survive without Black Bolt while she's trying to find him, and she like steals some shit from this family who we never actually see on screen, and there's this bit where she looks at herself in the mirror and she grabs the back of her neck because her hair's missing, and like, I don't know. I just am not sympathetic with her character at this point. I think that's really sad, but I just don't feel like she was built enough. We've had 3 hours of TV now out of, I think it's 6 or 8 episodes that they're going to do in total, and 3 of those hours are now gone, and one of the main characters I don't think is sympathetic, and that is a massive problem, especially when she is the other half to a relationship with a character who doesn't speak. Her character can speak, and she is even less sympathetic than Black Bolt to me, and I think that is a huge problem. I think Karnak is a really interesting character, even though he spent the entire episode tied to a support beam talking to some farmers. And man, I want to see him get back up on his feet and watch him utilize his power some more, because I think it's actually interesting. And I would like to see what happens with him next. He is a character I'm interested in watching further in this series. Then we have Crystal and Maximus, and their scenes together produce some of the worst lines and dialogue out of the whole episode, in my opinion. He says, I'm glad that you decided to do this on your own before I had to make you do it, or something like that. I'm like, you could have just said, I'm glad that you decided to do this of your own free will. Like, we get the implication. You don't have to add that extra bit. But that's not the actor's fault, of course. He's an excellent actor. It's just bad writing. And then it's followed by the least intense escape scene I've ever seen in anything. She just kind of freezes some dude's feet and runs to exactly where the dog is, even though she was asking in the previous scene where Lockjaw was. Like, she didn't know, but now she suddenly knows and she gets to escape. Fine, whatever. That leaves us with Black Bolt, who has made some good old friends in prison. The guard somehow thinks that informing the general population that Black Bolt harmed a bunch of police officers is going to make them want to fight him. So they take him outside for a moonlit recreation session with a bunch of other inmates, and they're all like, oh, you heard a bunch of cops Great job, because these cops here clearly are prone to police brutality and trying to turn inmates against each other and that kind of stuff. Even though Bolt didn't actually kill anybody, he just hurt a dude, put him in the hospital apparently. He's eating through a feeding tube. And that sucks. I felt like it was a push towards trying to talk about a real world social issue in police brutality and police overreach and all that we've been talking about a lot in the news here in the US. And then they have an escape that has slightly higher stakes than Crystal's escape earlier in the episode, and he escapes with the whole lava hands, the Hawaiian dude, and goes away in a helicopter that lands as soon as they get outside, and Medusa has shown up at the police station and she beats this dude up, and then the NASA lady sitting out in her car because she's watching to see what happens with Black Bolt, I guess. And Medusa puts a gun to her head, trying to chase after Black Bolt. It was better than the previous episode, don't get me wrong. This was a lot more enjoyable to watch than the 2-hour premiere. A lot more action happened. It was decently shot action, even though it was choppy and a little more difficult to follow than I prefer in a fight scene. And we got a little more depth on some characters, which is good, and I think that it was fine, you know? It was a decent episode of television. It wasn't some epic catastrophe, it wasn't some sort of amazing triumph of film, but it was decent, and I will watch the next episode. Hopefully they can weave some stuff together and really make this work, because I'm rooting for it, I really am. They suffered a lot of difficulties in their production process, and that makes everything more difficult when your production process sucks. It puts a lot of extra pressure when there's already a ton of pressure in the filmmaking process. So, you know, I really hope that they overcame those odds. They've got some really good actors in this show, I think, especially in Rion. He's fantastic. I want to see what happens. I want it to get fantastic, and if it doesn't get fantastic, I'm not going to be disappointed, but I guess I will be a little bit sad because I had hopes from this from when it was first announced. Make sure to give me a big like if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you had any thoughts you wanted to share about Inhumans so far. And subscribe if you want to hear about more nerdy stuff from me. As always, thank you so much for watching.